Okay guys, we're here again. Right now we're focusing on BJJ dilemmas. We're going to be focusing on, again, how to use strategy and to use strategy within the scenarios to create a dilemma for your opponent so that you always have an opportunity to achieve your goal moving in one of two options. Again, if you're able to create this dilemma type scenario, you keep your partner guessing, you don't present a singular approach or a one-dimensional approach, and it always leads to more success because again, you're having your partner guessing constantly between one of two options. So we're actually just going to talk a little bit about, again, using the strategy of dilemmas as opposed to relying on physical attributes to achieve your goal in jiu-jitsu. Because again, the longer you compete, the longer you fight with somebody, the longer you go, right, the more tired you become. And if you rely on physical attributes to achieve your goal, eventually that'll start to fail. So instead, we're going to focus on using the technical side or the strategy of jiu-jitsu to have more success. So what we're going to talk about here is, again, this also has a lot to do with connection, all right? But pretty much I'm going to be passing the guard. And when I'm passing the guard, I want to present the dilemma of my posture. And the reason that's so important to understand is the way I position my body dictates how my partner can attack me. The general idea is, regardless of whatever guard you're in right now, or in the closed guard, if I'm in a kneeling posture, a crouching posture, or a posture where I commit my upper body to my opponent, right, I have two main differences here. One, the weakness or the negative to this, okay, is that I commit my arms, my head, and my upper body to my opponent, and it's easy for my opponent to climb on them, to attack them with lots of different submission options. So generally speaking, when you're in a kneeling or crouching posture, or when you're leaning on your opponent to some extent, you commit your arms to them or your upper body to them, and it becomes easier for them to achieve submission attacks. Because again, my partner can climb on me, find attacks easily, and again, I'm fighting the stronger portion of their body with the weaker portion of mine. But I generally have better balance. Again, because I have a more compact position of my legs, it's harder for my opponent to gain leverage over my lower limbs. My limbs are short, and again, there's lots of ways to kind of show this. For example, if my arm's straight out like this and Lucas grabs my wrist, and he tries to push my wrist around, I'm going to hold as hard as I can, and he moves my wrist around very easily. If instead I shorten my limb, and I keep my elbow tight to my body, my wrist tight to me, now Lucas tries to move my arm around, and he's really struggling, because again, he doesn't have the same leverage as he does when I have a fully extended limb. And that's the scenario here, in this kneeling position in the guard passing scenario. The other option is again to be more of a standing position, where again we lengthen the limbs of our lower body, and as we start to lift our shoulders and remove our upper body from our opponent, we start to expose our lower body instead. And now we have the opposite issue. What we do gain, is we've removed most of the upper body attacks. We gain superior movement. We can now move very, very quickly. We can pass and move very powerfully and very quickly. But we now give leverage of our lower bodies to our opponent. Okay, we've taken away the ability for them to climb on our upper body as much, but they've gained the ability to start to maneuver our body and our lower limbs in a much more powerful way. And generally that leads to them having more success with sweep options or back take options off of the reaction of off balancing. So the basic idea is, it's my job, regardless of whatever guard option my opponent presents, to recognize when to toggle between these two scenarios to create a dilemma for my opponent and make it difficult for them to formulate or build an attacking opportunity. Because every time I start to pass the closed guard in this kneeling position and I'm having some problems, I instead learn to stand up and use my superior movement to find a way out of the guard position so I can continue to pass. Or every time that I stand up in the guard position, my partner starts to find grips on my legs, I need to return back to a kneeling scenario so I can open the guard in that situation instead. And if I consistently present these two options, I never allow my opponent to be comfortable, and they're really fighting hard to recognize where they should be attacking me, and I present this dilemma for them to give them a hard time, and to, again, I give myself a better opportunity to achieve my goal, not through power, strength, or speed, but through basic decision making.